But this time I want you to listen because I've already answered this question. I'm going to repeat again. Unfortunately, that's the case with you, Paul. I have to keep repeating it. No, it's not. It's not. No. Look here. What is important for the... Will you be quiet while I'm talking? What is the important thing I told you with regards to the creed of the Muslims? I gave you the 5 pillars and the 6 articles of faith. Did I not? Are the 5 pillars and the 6 articles of faith mentioned in the Quran?
Basically...
Can you please answer the question I'm asking? Can you answer the question I'm asking?
Say that again?
You're not listening again. Maybe I should just end this discussion. Come back when you're sober.
I'm not drunk.
I don't mean drunk, okay? When you're actually ready to listen and respond to the questions I'm asking.
You're not
right now,
making any sense.
right now what
You're
you're
not
doing,
making sense.
right now what you're doing is this. You are thinking of another question before, instead of listening to me.
I'm trying to work out how can the Quran be an overseer of the Bible when it doesn't have the information that the Bible has?
Why does it need the information
How
the Bible
can
has?
it correct something that it has no
It's
information
very easy.
on?
Let me respond and you listen.
That is a contradiction.
No, it's not. Because you have already decided, it's called cognitive dissonance. You have already decided that you are not listening to any rationality or any reason I'm going to give you. Now, if you listen and have patience, maybe you'll get an answer.
If it had...
He's doing it again. Okay, you know what? Paul, come back next time when you have time.
No, you're not being rational.
This is the 3rd time I have to stop you for you to get a response from me. 3rd time. Can you please have patience and listen this time? If you want a response, you have to listen. Otherwise, don't have a dialogue. I will give you a reason, yes.
Respond. If you go on and on.
No, I won't go on and on.
You want me to speak for like 30 seconds?
I won't go on and on. You didn't even give me 1 minute to respond. Okay?
Let's finish this point and we're done.
Yes. The response is this. What we have in the Quran is basically what is required for our salvation. Okay? Primarily. Yes? The stories of the Old Testament and of the New Testament and the Psalms.
You don't have the stories
doing it
of the
again.
New Testament.
You're doing it again.
But you don't.
You're doing it again. Let me finish and then respond. Let me
You
finish.
say that you have stories of the
Paul,
New Testament.
Paul, let me finish and respond. You're not listening, that's why. I said we don't need the stories of the Old Testament. Listen, that is key. That was God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth.
Okay. Well, finish.
Okay.
Then I'm gonna... Have you finished?
No, I won't. If you let me, maybe I will finish. This is the last time I'm going to tell you. And if you interrupt me, I'm going to stop the discussion.
Okay.
Okay? Don't say I ran away afterwards. Okay? Now, with regards to the Quran, the point here is Allah says, Alif Lam Mim ذلك الكتاب لا ريب فيه هدى للمتقين. Yes? This book ذلك الكتاب لا ريب فيه. Yes? There is no doubt in it.
There's no doubt.
Yes, no doubt in it. Oops, this camera fell down. Expensive mistake.
The problem is there is.
You can respond after I finish. Let me finish. Okay? And Allah says, هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. That means it is a guidance for the ones who are God-fearing. If you're God-fearing, you want to find the truth, you want to believe in God, this is the guidance for them. Allah didn't say that we have to have all of the Old Testament in it, or all of the New Testament, or all of the books of the previous messengers. Never did Allah say that. However, whatever is floating out there, what people allege as the Torah and what they allege as the Injil, yes, Allah corrects that, and that's the reason it is a muhaymin. For example, in chapter 2 verse 79, Allah talks about the corruption of the Torah. Yes, that they change the words from the right places. Yes, and then they attribute it to Allah. That means they claim that this Torah is from Allah. And in order for them to basically get a few pennies. In other words, Allah is telling you they corrupted it. Their own hands. They wrote with their own hands and then they attribute it to Allah. So you see, Allah is already telling you in Surah Al-Baqarah in the 2nd chapter, the same chapter I read about Alif Lam Mim Dhalika al-Kitab la rayba fihi hudan lil-muttaqin, the same one I'm reading to you in Surah Al-Baqarah. So now, do you realize why Allah doesn't tell you you need the Old Testament to be a muhaymin or you need the New Testament to be a muhaymin? Whatever people allege as a Torah or an Injil, yeah, but have you understood?
Say that is a contradiction.
Of what?
Right, because your Quran does not have any details of the Torah.
There he goes again.
Any details of the Injil, but yet it says it's a muhaymin over it.
You know, Paul, I think you have a comprehension issue. I'm sorry to say this.
We have to beg to differ.
I think, yes, you really have a comprehension issue.
No, because your explanation, it doesn't make sense.
Okay, what did I say? Let's see if you remember.
Basically, you said that Allah says that the Torah has been corrupted, da-di-da-di-da.
Oh, daddy. Tell me what I said.
Therefore,
Tell me what I said, Paul.
therefore, the Quran now is Muhammad over the Bible, right?
With that, we should end the discussion.
It doesn't
Because
have
your
any
problem,
information,
with your problem,
doesn't have no genealogies, doesn't have no miracles of
Doesn't need it.
Jesus, right? Doesn't
doesn't
have
need it.
any sayings of Jesus.
Doesn't need it.
Doesn't have any sayings of Prophet
Actually, there are a few
David.
sayings of Jesus.
Doesn't have
Has a few
any
sayings of
sayings
Jesus.
of Moses.
It has a few sayings of Moses.
Few, maybe what, one or two.
You know, Paul, I
lines.
think we should end the discussion because not only the fact that you're not
it's a
listening.
contradiction. So
That's your point of view. Not only that you're not listening, but you also have comprehension issues with what I'm saying.
No, I don't have
And I think you do. Okay, then your problem is of listening. You don't listen. Because when I asked you what did I say, you were unable to. You said da-di-da-di-da. It's not da-di-da-di-da.
It is
I gave you the reason
da-di-da-di-da.
that Allah doesn't need the Old Testament
Okay.
or its details. Allah doesn't need the New Testament and its details. Allah, the most important thing here is for the salvation of mankind.
Allah tells you to believe in these books,
Yes.
but doesn't give you any information on them books. So that's a contradiction.
And I gave you the reason why, because the Quran is the Muhammad. The Quran is the one which supersedes everything else.
Okay, but it doesn't have any of that information.
It doesn't
How
need it.
can it correct
It doesn't need it.
How can
It doesn't
if
need
I'm
it.
going to correct something that Einstein said. I have to know something about the subjects that he taught.
Very good point, actually. Let's use that. So, let's say you write a book which is a critique of Einstein. Wait, hear me out. Let's say you wrote a book which critiques Einstein.
I don't have any
Hold on.
information
I'm
about
not going to ask you any technical. I won't ask you anything technical. Don't worry. I know you haven't done any Einstein research or even any research in basic science from what I spoke to you about earlier. What I know is one thing, logic, and you understand logic, at least to some extent here. This is the point. Imagine you were writing a critique of Einstein. In your book, would you include every single book that Einstein wrote in your book?
I would have to know exactly.
I didn't
what
ask
he
you if you know.
taught.
I did not
I
ask
would
you.
have to know.
I didn't ask you if you have to know.
How could I critique him if I don't
Again,
know
you're
what
not
he
listening.
taught?
Again, you're not listening. In the book which you write, in the book, wait. In the book which you write, hold on. In the book which you write criticizing Einstein, will you include every single book that Einstein has written?
I would have to make references to a lot of his main doctrine.
Will you have to write all of it?
Of his main teachings. I have to make references and then critique it.
References to everything?
I have to know the
Everything?
general doctrine.
No, I didn't ask you if you know. Again, once again, I'm asking you. Look, this is the logic these guys we have to basically deal
Quran
with.
cannot be
Anyway,
Muhammad over the
Paul,
Bible.
it has superseded
It's
everything.
inferior to the Bible.
How is it inferior?
In every way.
Okay, do you have the first century manuscripts?
Sorry?
You have the first century manuscripts? It does.
It doesn't
It does.
matter.
Others are Chinese gospels.
Look, I've told you this before. I don't know manuscripts.
You don't know? So you haven't done any research. And then he's saying Quran is inferior.
It's inferior because it doesn't have the previous.
And I've
books
already
in
told
it.
you, what you're arguing is
If it has
basically
the
not
original
logic.
books and then critique the Bible, then fine. But it doesn't.
I don't need the original books to critique something.
Look.
I don't need the original book. Sorry, in order for me to write a book critiquing something, I don't need to write everything about
That's
that.
going to be fiction.
Okay, you know what
It's
Allah
not based-
mentions?
it's
Wait a
not
minute.
based-
Allah mentions in chapter 4, 171, that Jesus is not the Son of God. Allah mentions He's a Messiah. Allah mentions that He doesn't have a son. And Allah mentions that do not say three. Now, in one verse only, in one verse, it basically dismantles your entire doctrine of the Trinity. One verse. Allah doesn't need to write the whole thing, does it? Now, if He was writing a critique, if you were writing a critique of Einstein, yes, for example, the theory of relativity, yes, all you have to do is give one example why you disagree with it. You don't have to bring the entire research of Einstein into your book. So for this man to keep repeating it doesn't have the New Testament. By the way, why should the Quran have the New and the Old Testament when they're already corrupted according to the Quran? This is a fallacy which he doesn't understand.
No, this is the
A
argument
fallacy.
you use it. It's
And he's
like-
saying, I don't need the manuscripts. I don't know much about the manuscripts.
No,
If you don't know the manuscripts of the first century, then how do you know Jesus said what he said?
Okay. Now your Quran talks about the crucifixion.
Sorry?
Your Quran talks about the crucifixion.
My Quran says
of
that
Jesus.
Isa was not crucified.
Okay.
All right? My Quran says that he was neither killed nor crucified.
Okay, 600 years later, after the event, this is what Muhammad had
What is
this
the evidence of the
revelation.
crucifixion?
Hold on a
Other than
minute,
the Bible?
hold on a minute.
What's the
You
evidence?
used an analogy. Can I use an analogy
Again?
Can I?
Josephus. How many years after Jesus?
Like 50, 60.
Can I
So
use?
it's basically no eyewitness, right?
There is no eyewitness evidence. Nobody saw.
That's the
it.
important point. If no one saw him being crucified, none of the authors who wrote about him were the eyewitness, then it is basically hearsay.
Okay, I'm going to use an analogy. Who won the last World Cup?
Okay, you know, Paul, I think we should end this discussion here because I've spent a lot of time with you and you do not listen. Your problem is you don't listen. Everything I told you, you just rejected.
World Cup?
Okay? Who won the last World Cup? Why is that even relevant?
I'm using an analogy.
Okay, anyway, look.
Who won it?
By the way, are you a Christian? No, you're not. So how do you know about Josephus?
I study Christianity.
You study Christianity. Okay, so you agree with me there were no eyewitnesses. And even Josephus' account is not credible. Did you study that bit? Because there's no original... Anyway, Paul, yeah, thanks a lot.
It just says this was a thing that happened, right?